So let's hear it for John. That was fantastic. Thank you very much. As was mentioned earlier, my name is Scott Kinney with Discovery Education, and it's an honor to be here with you today, and an honor to partner with Uno International. We share a common vision, and that's how do we provide world-class content to students regardless of how they learn, to meet the needs of every student. Before joining Discovery, I spent 15 years in public education, and for the last 7 years at Discovery, I've had the opportunity to work with school systems and states and other countries in making this transition from purely print environments to some sort of digital environment, a place where we start to think about how do we deliver digital content in a very systematic way. And one of the questions I love to start with when I meet with groups like this is this one. And so, how many people in here, by show of hands, have a cell phone or some web-enabled device? If you could just raise your hand for me so I can see it. Okay, very good. So, oh, a lot more? Good. So, here's what I'd like you to do. If you could answer this question for me. As you walk around your schools and you look at the way teachers are engaging students, primarily, how do you see instructional content delivered? Is it typically by text, by lecture, by media, or in a hands-on environment? So you can answer this two different ways. You can go to this website, pollev.com/Scott_Kinney, and click on an answer. Or you can text your answer to that number there, the 614 number, and the keyword that you would text would correspond to one of those words. So you would text Braz text, if it were text, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to give you just a few seconds to go ahead and log in your answer for me, if you will. And we'll come back to this in a bit. Is it possible to squeeze the screen just a bit? Ah, perfect. Thank you. Okay, is everybody answering the question? And we're going to come back to this in just a little bit. All right, so I do have some questions for you to start off today. But before I do that, here's what I want you to do. Every table group, I'm going to give you a job. So with your table, I'm going to give you two things to do. In the next 30 seconds, you have to talk to your table mates, and you have to identify a team leader and a table name. So a name for your table. All right, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. One person who's your team leader, and then a table name. All right, 30 seconds. Go ahead and do that for me. All right, team leaders. I have Julia. Oh, okay. Yeah, when I go down, but not quite yet. Yeah. All right, how'd we do? Team leaders, raise your hand for me. Where are the team leaders? All right, team leaders, good. Here's what I want you to do. If I could get you back. I have a series of questions for you. Oh.
Gente, faz minutinho de silêncio para a gente poder entender aqui, por favor.
Thank you.
Obrigada.
I have a series of questions for you. So here's the first question. And if you were paying attention earlier, your team's going to get this right. So in your team, I want you to answer this question for me. After 244 years, what organization recently announced it will no longer print a print edition? Okay, so talk to your team leader. Pick the answer. Okay, show of hands. Who thinks it's A, USA Today? How about B, Encyclopedia Britannica? Ah, very good. You're paying attention. C, Guinness Book? And D, World Book? You're correct. Encyclopedia Britannica. Very nice. Give yourselves a round of applause. All right, two more questions. Next question. How about this one? In March of 2009, there was a school district in Texas that warehoused books that they never even opened. And it was because by law, they had to have a book for every student. So how much money did they spend on unused textbooks? Was it A, 319,000, B, 720,000, C, 1.4 million, or D, 4.6 million? So go ahead, I'll give you a couple seconds to chat. All right, who thinks A? A, show of hands. How about B? How about C? Most people think C. How about D? Ooh, you're correct. D, very good. 4.6 million. 4.6 million. All right, last question. One more to go. And this time, instead of just the leader raising their hand, the whole table has to stand, okay, for the correct answer. How about this one? Which country recently announced an initiative to launch tablets in every grade 6 through 8? Okay, so go ahead and talk a little bit. Was it Australia, Thailand, China, or South Korea? No shouting out.
Dessa vez, então, vocês entenderam o que ele disse. Ele pediu, né, para quando ele falar a letra A, B, C ou D, a mesa inteira levantar.
All right, the whole table this time. How about A? A? Nobody? How about B, Thailand? The whole table has to stand? B, whole table, everybody stand if you think it's Thailand?
Vamos ficar em pé.
So this group right here? Just one? All right, how about China? Go ahead and stand for me.
Vamos ficar em pé. Fique em pé, fique em pé.
All right, a lot of China. And then finally South Korea. Who thinks South? Ah, very nice. Good. All right, if you think it's Thailand, could you stand again for me? The Thailand folks, go ahead and stand up. You're correct. It was Thailand.
Oh.
Very nice. Very nice. Very good. All right, so I'm going to back up just a second and talk a little bit about, real quickly, what we do at Discovery Education. And the rule at Discovery Education is, I'm not allowed to stand here and tell you what we do at Discovery Education. What do you think I have to do? It's corporate rule. I have to show you a video. So let me show you a quick video about what we do at Discovery. We get audio?
Coming towards her, stuck still, no turning back. She hid around corners and she hid under beds. She killed it with kisses, and from it she fled. With every bubble she sank with a drink and washed it away down the kitchen sink. The dog days are over, the dog days are done. The horses are coming, so you better run. Run fast for your mother, run fast for your father, run for your children, for your sisters and brothers. Leave all your love and your lonely behind. You can't carry it with you if you want to survive. The dog days are over, the dog days are done. Can you hear the horses as they come?
All right, we'll skip the questions again. So the question then is, at Discovery Education, we love our partnership with Uno International because we get to deliver that great, rich content to students. The question, though, is really why? Right? From an educational perspective, why is it important to engage our students with digital content? So it's really my question for you. Why is it? So show of hands, and you're going to have to shout really loud, and someone's going to help me understand. There's Julia. Thank you very much. So Julia here. Let's hear it for Julia. She's going to help me understand some of the answers here. Pop down. So why is it, I'm going to grab that, thank you, that you'd want to use digital content with your students? What do you think? Why? Why? Why use digital content with your students?
Scott, back there.
Very simple. They are native digital learners.
Perfect.
So we're living in their era. We're migrants. They are digital learners. They were born in this digital era. So we got to adapt to our times so students can learn according to their time, not the way we used to do.
That's great. And your first name?
Dan.
Daniel. So let's hear it for Daniel. Great answer. Do we have a t-shirt for Daniel? Oh, Daniel gets a t-shirt. So one, we know students are digital learners, right? They every day interact with content in a digital way. How about anybody else? Now you saw you'll get a t-shirt way back there. Can you shout? Oh, I got one here. I'm coming back though. Go ahead.
Porque a minha filhinha de 1 ano, hoje, já utiliza o iPad. Como eu vou entregar para ela um livro de papel? Por isso.
Right. So students are already there, right? So why take them backwards? Thank you very much. And your name?
Elise, São Paulo.
Elise, thank you. Let's hear it for Elise. I have one way back here. I'm running.
Quem for responder, fica em pé, por favor.
Eu acho que
Obrigada.
também seria a questão da sustentabilidade. Porque o mundo que quer crescer tem que pensar na preocupação da questão ambiental. A sustentabilidade é a economia do papel.
She is translating.
Perfect, thank you. And your name? Ilda. Let's hear it for Ilda. Thank you. Ma'am?
A preocupação com a geração que chega é tão grande que a pessoa que falou antes de mim falou sobre a minha maior preocupação. A minha neta de 3 anos só aceita de forma digital. Os nossos alunos de 15, de 12, de 11 não aceitam mais a lecture, a aula de giz e de palavras. E uma coisa muito importante é a rapidez. O livro é incapaz de alcançar a rapidez da mudança.
So the ability to update content, thank you. And one more, and then we're going to have to move on.
Eu acho que o livro não consegue alcançar a rapidez, mas não consegue ter o volume de conhecimento que é compartilhado no mundo inteiro. Não cabe mais em livro nenhum, né? Então só o mundo digital consegue ter isso.
Great, thank you very much. So let's take a look at a few of these things as we talk. I promise there'll be more time for interaction. If we could get the PowerPoint back up. So the first thing that you said was students learn and interact with content differently today than ever before in their history. So can we get the PowerPoint back up? Computer? There we go. Okay, so the first thing we said, students interact differently with content. So let's take a look at this. There's a great study in the US, and I promise I'll use 2 US statistics and that's it, done by the Kaiser Family Foundation. And every 4 years, what they do is they look at how students use media. And so one of the things they found was that on average, a day, a student 8 to 18 uses how much media a day? What do you think, number of hours? Who thinks it's 2? A day. Who thinks it's 4? 6? 8? Yeah, so it's about 7.5 hours a day. If you multiply that by 7, that's actually a full-time work week, right? It's over 50 hours a week students spend with media. Now what's interesting about this study, this is all outside the typical school day. This is leisure time. Here's the breakdown, and what's interesting is if you note the numbers, they actually add up to more than 7.5. So how could students spend more time with media or consume more information than the number of hours they spend with it? How can that be possible? Because they're doing 2 things or 3 things or 4 things at once. How many people have a teenager at home that have a laptop, and while they're on their laptop they have earphones in and they're texting their friends at the same time? So it truly is a media generation. So this is a quick snapshot of a student named Joe who pokes a little fun at us. So let's just take about 20 seconds of a listen to Joe.
Joe, what are you doing there?
It's a video, it's pictures. I don't know.
What's going on?
Well, this is this is like a foreign tool.
Okay. What was it? You said you were having a problem earlier?
Oh yeah. Wait, where's it? Yeah. So I want to read more about Frederick Douglass, or maybe like see a larger image. So I double-clicked on the picture, but nothing's happening.
Oh.
And then I can't really read the text because it's kind of small. So looking for the system preferences so I can make the text bigger, but can't find anything.
Laura, you said there was a problem involved?
You can't.
The second thing that you mentioned was access to current content, that books are too slow sometimes. And so what we're able to do with digital content through the partnership with UNO International is have the best of both worlds. Right? So we have that great print context, but we also have great digital content. Because here's one of the challenges with traditional textbooks. Things change. So if you think of a 4-year-old textbook, what are some things in that textbook that might be factually incorrect or that might not be representative because it's something that happened recently? So let me give you an example. My 4-year-old textbook still thinks Pluto's a planet, right? So here's what I want you to do. In your tables, I want you to have a quick conversation. I'll give you about 30 to 60 seconds. What are some other things that finish that sentence? So my 4-year-old textbook still thinks ... something that might not be correct or might not be in that textbook because it just happened recently. So I'll go ahead and give you some time. Talk in your tables if you will. Yeah, we'll find out. Thank you. I'll give you just about 20 more seconds. Sure. Yeah, good. Good. Really close. Got it. All right. Because the beauty is with digital content, here's what we can address, right? Through the use of video and digital, we can do things like explain why Pluto's not a planet.
Shaken to its very core. After almost 80 years, Pluto lost its status as the 9th planet. The International Astronomical Union couldn't ignore findings that similar, even larger bodies than Pluto traverse the outer solar system. Forced to define the word for the first time, astronomers established 3 distinct criteria to earn the name planet. First, the object must orbit.
And you're going to have to do some research to find out what those criteria are. So what are some other things that you talked about in your tables? I think oh, there you go.
Yeah, Jean Paul still the Pope.
Okay.
You still see pictures of Jean Paul.
There you go. Anything else? How about, yep, back there. I'm getting my workout this morning.
Ainda, o livro-texto de geografia ainda acha que tem 4 fusos horários no Brasil, gente. A edição foi atualizada no ano passado.
Perfect. So, geography. Yeah, changes. Over here, sir.
Steve Jobs ainda é o CEO da Apple.
Oh, Steve Jobs. Correct. Right. Absolutely. Appropriate after our last presentation. Ma'am?
Que o Lula ainda é o presidente do Brasil.
Okay. What was that? Ah, okay. Okay. Excellent. Ma'am?
Que tudo ainda continua bem na União Europeia.
Ah, European Union. Very good. So a lot of things have changed over the last 4 years. And so I'm going to go to my last point here. I'm going to skip over some of these other videos. and go to my last point. Because this is probably, to me, one of the most critical reasons why we want to deliver digital content to students. And that's because it gives us the ability to meet the needs of every student, no matter how they learn or where they are in the learning process. Right? And so if we think about this, I love this study. It's a little bit older, but one of the things I love about it is that it was done with 6-year-olds who had never seen technology before. Right? How many educators do we have in the room? This is, I know, a silly question, but raise your hand. Right? So as a room full of educators, we look at this study, and they broke 6-year-olds into 2 groups. One group had text only, and one had text, animation, video, and sound. Show of hands, who thinks group number 1, text only, performed better when they were assessed? Okay, one person. Show of hands, group number 2, text, video, animation, and sound. Put them up nice and high. It's almost everybody. Right? As educators, we inherently know that if we can deliver content in multiple ways, we can meet the needs of more of our students in the classroom. Right? So what are some of the ways students learn? What are some of those ways? If you could shout those out for me. Visual, auditory, learning objects, kinesthetic, very good. Yes, sir? Can you shout really loud? Music, okay. So, knowing that students learn different ways, right? Many of us have been schooled in something called the VARK category, so Fleming's work, and it was exactly what you just told me. If you ask a room full of educators almost anywhere in the world, how do students learn? They'll almost always tell you these 4. The thing they'll almost always forget is the read-write characteristic, right? But it's important to note that that question I asked you earlier, when we look around our schools on how content's delivered versus how we learn ourselves, there becomes an interesting mix. So show of hands, I'm not going to make you answer just because of time, but show of hands. How many people in here are visual learners? Consider yourself visual learners. Okay. How about auditory learners? Who's an auditory learner? Okay. How about kinesthetic? Okay. And then read-write. Read-write? So if you didn't raise your hand, I'm just going to assume you're a non-learner. All right, so what's interesting about these questions is this. I have the opportunity to ask these questions to audiences literally all around the world, and here's what people have told me. So I've taken all this information, I've put it together. This is my own non-scientific research. And here's what people say. When you ask them, how is content delivered in your school system? Most people will say lecture, almost 70%, followed by about 13% text, a little less than that hands-on, and then finally about 6% media. So this is, if we frame this question, how we teach. Now if we jump to the next question that I just asked you about how you learn, even as adults, here's what people tell me. That we learn about 11% auditory, about 15% read-write, about 16% kinesthetic, and about 56% visual. Here's the really interesting thing about this information, and this is what you told me, right? This is what people in educators across the country say, or across the world say. But what's interesting about this, if we were to design schools from the ground up today, we couldn't get it more wrong. We couldn't get more opposite in the way people learn and the way people deliver instructional content. And I think that's the beauty of Uno International, which is the ability to deliver that content in multiple formats. So we know that there are students who are great read-write learners. So we can deliver that rich text. We can deliver it in a print form or in a media form. Right? So rich text still has a place in great instructional materials. But what's also important is that we look at those auditory learners. It's a small group, but I happen to be one of them. I love audiobooks. And so we have the ability to incorporate audio within our course instruction. Like this great dress-up song that I found last night. I think we should all sing along. You probably know the words. Oh, can we get audio?
Take out your shirt and put it on. Take out your shirt and put it on. Take out your shirt and put it on. Let's get dressed for school.
All right, everybody now. Pants.
Take out your pants and put them on. Take out
What?
your pants and put them on. Take out your pants.
Thank you, Mimi. All right, so you get the idea. The other thing we can incorporate certainly is video.
Extraordinary resilience. But when we consciously want to test our strength, our muscles and bones collaborate to give us maximum power. The human body has resources far beyond what we can imagine. In a true test of muscles, how does the body's ultimate strength measure up? How far can we go when life hangs in the balance?
All right, very good. And here's an interesting one. There was a great book by a cognitive psychologist called Brain Rules. His name's John Medina out of Stanford. And in the book, he has, it's not an education book, it's a cognitive psychology book. How does the brain work, right, from a scientific perspective? Brain rule number 10 was this one. Vision trumps all other senses. And as many of us rose our hands and said we were visual learners. I don't think you could disagree. So I wanted to put this to the test with this group. I thought to myself, I want to challenge you to visually identify some things that maybe you might not normally identify. So here's your challenge. In the next, I'm going to give you about 55 seconds. In your tables, identify as many of these as possible. Okay? What? The names of those candy bars. As many of the candy bars as you can. In your tables, I'm going to give you now 40 seconds to go ahead and do that. So go ahead and do that for me. Oh, this is for the winning table. I'm watching. See, you're good. All right, here we go. This one we're just going to shout out. So we have to shout out together. So I'm going to start in the upper left corner. So what is that in the upper left corner? Okay, on three. 1, 2, 3. Kit Kat. Very good. All right. How about this one in the middle on the top? Anybody know? Twix. Very good. To the right? Butterfinger. Very nice. Very nice. How about over here? Almond Joy. You know, I got to tell you, I'm a little concerned that this is the most engaged you've been in during my presentation so far. So, Almond Joy, very good. One in the middle? Snickers, good. How about this one? That's it. What was that? Carmelo. Carmelo. All right, and that one? I gave you that one, huh? How about this one? Milky Way, very good. And then finally, this is a tough one. It's a score bar. So give yourselves a round of applause. Very nicely done. Very nicely done. All right, I need to quickly wrap up. And here's where I'm going to wrap up. One of the things we know about how people learn always goes back to this. That when we look at different groups, and we look at the way we deliver content to those groups, and we take one group and deliver it just one way, using one sense, no matter what that sense is. And then we pick a second group and deliver information in a way, just one sense, no matter what that sense is. And then combine the two, something interesting happens. The third group always does better. They always do better on memory, but more importantly, they always do better on problem solving, because multisensory plays to more of our students' strengths. And so that's the beauty of Uno International, is the ability not just to deliver content in one frame, but to make sure that we can deliver that content in multiple ways to meet our students no matter where they are in that learning process and no matter how they learn. So with that, thank you very much for your participation. It's been an honor speaking with you, and I will turn it back over. Thank you.